Great morning, world. This is your boy, Dragon. Welcome to another edition of the Rise Up with Dragon podcast. So, just as a quick reminder, the goal of this podcast is to remove the blindfolds of your mind so that you can gain access to higher levels of consciousness and tap into your true great potential. How do we do this? We do this with our podcast, our weekly blog called The Dragon's Lair, One from the Vault, and our upcoming online courses and books. Welcome to another edition of Rise Up with Dragon. And as always, the Rise Up with Dragon podcast is sponsored by Karma Mind.
Get into the float state with Karma Mind meditations and gear.
Great morning, world! Welcome to the Rise Up with Dragon podcast with your host, Dragon!
So for those of you that have been following along, this is part of the new series and new structure that I'm calling 10-minute Rise Ups. So this new series and structure is basically the latest creation and commitment from the Dragon. That's me. It's been inspired by the unpredictability of how much time we have to live our best life. And the answer to that question of what will you think, say, or do, what will matter most in the last 10 minutes of your life? So welcome to another Rise Up with Dragon podcast. And this is intended to become part of your morning structure so that you can enjoy and make the best out of every 10 minutes of your life. Today's episode is called The Address of Life, or your life address. Before I get started though, in the spirit of really taking advantage of the 10 minutes that are probably now 8 minutes. One of the things that I like to do, as you know, I wear the Make Sense glasses because they give me, it's kind of like an anchor and a trigger to get me to see things the way I want to see things. But I actually have thousands of them. And I very often open up a new pack, fresh new pack. So I'm opening up a new pair today because I don't want to mess this up. I want to make sure that everybody that listens to this podcast, much better. You ought to try these sometimes. As soon as these glasses go on, of course, they're non-prescription, everything gets clear. So before I jump in, just quickly want to share something. This morning when I woke up, Chicken said to me as I was walking over, actually way far after I woke up, but as I was walking over to do this podcast, she said to me, good luck. So I said to her, with what? And then she said, your rise up. And I realized in that moment, I was thinking about luck because that's the way the Dragon works, is when you say a word, I kind of unpack it. I distance myself from my reaction from it. That's my work. And I realized in that moment that the only reason I would ever, or you would ever need luck is if we were attached to the outcome. And in that space, I realized, I said to myself, why are you doing these podcasts? Who is it for? And I realized, if I'm really being transparent, it's for me. It's for me because remember, my whole process is I receive this information, these thoughts, I write them down in my journaling, and I do that in my structure every morning, and I'll teach everybody this in my book. But then when I explain it to you, I'm the one that I think is winning the most. It feels great to unpack it and re-explain it and also share it with others. So I realized I don't need any luck because this is just like something that I'm doing for myself and I really enjoy it. And then the other thing that came to mind right there, because a lot of people ask me where, I've got thousands of these, and they say, where do your rise ups come from? So I do this journaling process, but I realized this morning, and I want to just bring attention once again to the things that we consume in life. My rise ups are actually the side effect of what I'm consuming, meaning what I'm reading, what I'm listening to, who I'm allowing into my life, the thoughts and reality that are manifesting in my mind are coming from what I'm consuming. So this is just a fresh reminder to me, and therefore you, of how important it is to protect your dreams by controlling what it is that you consume. So right now I'm reading this really cool couple books actually, but one book I'm reading is called Noise, and the other book is You Are Here by Thich Nhat Hanh. So this one comes from that. So we call it the address of life. So the question is, where are you going? Are you walking or running through life right now? Take an assessment of that, the answer to that question. Are you going somewhere right now? Or if I asked you where you're going, would you realize, I don't know? Are you on a road to nowhere? So remind yourself in this space of what I'm talking about. Where are you going right now? Are you running or are you walking? Remind yourself in this space of our human nature to be so focused on where we're going and where we've been. Now, if I asked you, where do you live and what's your address? Your knee-jerk reaction comes to mind. So think about that question. Where do you live and what's your address? And distance yourself from your programmed response. Before you give me some numbers and a street name or a town, access where you live in perspective to the line of life that you're living right now. Now, in my new book, I have an entire chapter called Lifeline. And it's just one of the best things that I've ever done. Our lifeline, really, really quickly, our lifeline has two vectors. And I've learned this from life and others. So it has two vectors. From left to right, one of the vectors from left to right, and that measures the time that we have to live from birth to death. Okay. This vector gives rise, what's important about this vector is it gives rise to the level of experience that we have, as well as gives rise to the urgency that we have to live a bigger life as our time is unpredictable. Hence the reason why we're doing this podcast. The second vector, so that's from left to right. Second vector is above and below. Below referring to when you're below the line, and this is from conscious leadership stuff with Jim Defmer, below the line referring to the moments in our life that were closed and filled with drama in that state of mind. And then the above the line area is referring to when we're open, curious, and responsible. We take radical responsibility for our lives. Therefore, we can't be right all the time. So those are the two vectors. So when you look at things in terms of your lifeline, what's your address? So to live consciously, and I think that's our biggest goal in life, to live consciously today, because that's all we have right now for sure, right now, to live consciously means to acknowledge where you are. Think about that for a second. I think that people mix this up every now and then. What does it mean to live consciously? I think you need to be able to answer the question, I am here now, and answer, where am I? Who am I? So that's what it means to live consciously. So no place being labeled as good or bad. The only bad place that I've observed that we can live is the place of the unconscious state, not knowing. It's okay to be above or below the line. It's okay to be in a good mood or a bad mood. Good and evil are things that we own both of them equally. But when you don't know where you are, that's when things get sticky. So knowing your life's address gives rise to shifting to a desired state. When you know your address and you can answer that question, whether you're drifting or shifting, knowing where you are, it gives rise to the ability to shift into a desired state, or it gives you the ability to acknowledge that you're right where you need to be. So you see, this is why it's so important to be in the present right now. You know, is this where you want to be, or in recognizing that, does it give you the opportunity to shift? So you are where you are, and that's just fine for this moment. Here's something that we learned from Buddha, and I got this from the book, You Are Here. Buddha reminds us the past no longer exists and the future is not here yet. The only moment in which you can be truly alive, the only moment that we can be truly alive, test this, challenge this. The only moment we can be truly alive is in the present moment. The present moment is the destination. The present moment is the destination. It's the place that we've arrived at. It's happening. It is now. So where do you live? What is your address? And where do you live? What is your address? What time is it? And what I mean is, what time is it now? And think about it. When you answer that question, that's extraordinary in so many ways. So my ultimate desire in doing this podcast is to set people up for a win for the day. And what I challenge you to do today is look at this day like an orange, and squeeze everything that you can from it as a blessing and an opportunity. So that's all for today. I love and appreciate you all. This has been another 10-minute Rise Up. Have an amazing day.